With Trump again pausing tariffs for the EU, we do see a beautiful bounce here for Bitcoin back to $110,000. But also CRO is approaching very crucial resistance. So is it time to become bullish once more? Well guys, I would say let's strap in and let's find out. This video is sponsored by Nova, an upcoming launchpad powered by Cronos. Last week, CRO had a beautiful breakout here out of this bullish pattern structure, with also a target of about 12 cents. But unfortunately, after a nice quick uptrend, we had this announcement by Trump introducing 50% tariffs for the EU starting on the 1st of June. Ouch, that really spooked the market, bringing us back down to about 9.5 cents. So you might think, well, this target here, it's broken, right? But actually, if we start to zoom in here, what we can see is that there's a beautiful bounce on this trend line, not only once, but twice so far. So that's actually, I think, a great sign of us trying to remain in the upward trajectory here for CRO. Even though it went down, we're still in this upward move. So I would still say the 12-cent target is on, especially if you read the latest news here from Donald J. Trump, saying he will delay the 50% tariff on the EU. So again, guys, this is all about trying to get an actual deal. And this is the way how Trump negotiates. He tries to scare you. He really tries to bring some pressure to the actual negotiations. And then when actually things are going to hurt both the EU and the US, it isn't all that bad. So also, I think, guys, in the future, I don't believe that whenever we get a new announcement by Trump, will have this big effect. But also, if you take a look here, for example, at Bitcoin, what you could see is that we went down a few percent for Bitcoin, right? We went from about 1012 to about 106, but it's only 5%. The first time we heard about the trade wars, whoa, yeah, that brought us down quite a bit, all the way from about 109 to about 74k. So every time, guys, we hear more about Trump, I do believe the markets will price us in less and less and less and less. And in all honesty, if you take a look where we are with Bitcoin at all, I would say we are in a very healthy structure so far. Had a nice retest at about 106, but also now we are jumping up again to about 110. So I'm feeling very bullish so far, just based on seeing on the charts here. Nothing is broken, and I would say the path is still open for CRO to go towards 12 cents and also even further if you zoom out to about 15 and finally I would say 20 cents. That's the final boss in the first phase really of this bull cycle. Many of you might be wondering though why Cronos is taking so long, because while Bitcoin is at those all-time highs, Cronos is still very low, near the cycle lows even. So what is going on there? Well, things might be about to change very soon. Thanks to our community member Pete, we learned that the Federal Reserve is doing something very interesting and has now started Stealth QE. But what is Stealth QE and why is it bullish? The main takeaway of this article is that the US Fed has been buying bonds. But the keyword here is secretly, because without any further notice, the US Fed casually bought $43 billion worth of US treasuries. And that's pretty crazy because whenever that's happening, typically we call that quantitative easing. But so far, we haven't heard anything really about a policy change. That's also why I do mention it is more of a stealth strategy. But why is this so important? Well, typically, with a return to quantitative easing, we inject a lot of liquidity into the economy. And with more liquidity, it is easier for companies, it is easier for people to, for example, get a loan. And the more easy it is to get a loan, the more money is in the system. Therefore, typically also asset prices can grow, including Bitcoin, gold, and real estate, for example. But okay, nothing has been announced. There will be a session on the 6th of June where we will see Jerome Powell speak again, maybe also about this policy change. Because if they continue doing this, this is a big sign for crypto and, of course, other risk assets. I do want to emphasize risk assets once more, because if you take a look here on the Bitcoin dominance chart, I do see some promising signs for altcoins, which typically are a more risky asset class. But more about that, guys, after the quick word of today's sponsor. NovaFox has started their countdown for May 29 when they're doing their NFX token launch. As always, do your own research, but NovaFox has a very exciting roadmap ahead. For example, in Q2, they will launch their own AI agents. In Q3, we'll see the launchpad go live. Q4, we'll see the NFT launch. And then further ahead in 2026, they're even thinking about doing a real estate investment trust. Check them out in the link in the description down below. Anyways, let's go back to the Bitcoin dominance chart here, because a few videos back, I told you guys that we actually might have started altcoin season already, even though it might not feel like it. These can be the early phases. And why do I think that? Well, I still do believe that we are currently setting lower highs for Bitcoin dominance. And to really show you why, I need to go back all the way to 2023, because since 2023, we have been in this uptrend, right? We went up for Bitcoin dominance and up and up and up. But every time we kind of top on this trend line, give or take this trend line. But then suddenly in April, we went on an explosive growth move. We actually went above this line for a few days and actually topped at about 65%, which also nicely correlates to a Fibonacci retracement level. So that one is very interesting. But then we started to fall down, and now we're once again up below this trend line. And I do believe this could be setting a lower high now. So we actually might see a reversal quite soon. So if we continue to do something like that, we go up, we go down even more. We kind of do something like what we have seen in 2021 here. So then, guys, the real fun starts to begin. People will go into Ethereum, people will go into CRO. But before we go into CRO, I also want to show you this. I was talking about this chart specifically because I do believe hitting about the 21 week for Ethereum could be the support we needed for an actual bounce. The 21 week is still a few inches away, but we got very close last week of really touching this line here. So it is getting very close before we, I think, make a definitive move for Ethereum to really go above and beyond it again towards its previous all-time high. That's what I'm waiting for. That's also what Cronos probably is waiting for. But Cronos also is at a very, very crucial level currently, because we showed this to you guys in the intro, but you see this purple line? This is also the 21 week. But whereas what we can see for Ethereum, we're above it already, CRO isn't. CRO is still below the 21 week. And that's really, really tough resistance. But so far, we're just above it or just on top of it. So the week is still very young, ladies and gentlemen. The week is still very young. We have about 6 more days to go. But it could be that this week we actually start to flip this resistance into support. Because so far, guys, 1 to 3 weeks of resistance here by the 21 week simple moving average. So if we can flip this into support, like what we've done, for example, here, we can go on a run very, very quickly. So again, we have a potential policy shift for the Federal Reserve. We have healthy charts. That is also why I do expect a good future ahead for the CRO token. Again, though, we've had 7 weeks of green in a row for Bitcoin, and potentially we might see a bit of a retest for Bitcoin coming up as well. So if Bitcoin goes back to about $100,000, I'm not really scared that much, but it could mean that CRO needs a bit of a break as well. But let's wait and see. I, of course, will make sure that you guys get up to date if that happens. So guys, don't forget to really strap in by subscribing to the channel and, of course, hitting that like button. By the way, if you like CRO, you might also like this video here talking about the CRO 4-wave cycle. So check it out.